the win tomorrow just to relieve a bit of the pressure that seems to be building at the moment off the back of 2 consecutive defeats in the Premier League, 1 win in 4, and also a very lackluster performance in the Carabao Cup. But I think it's going to be a very difficult game. I think you're looking at the opposition that we're facing on Saturday. First of all, they're in good form. They've started the season really well. Even though they've lost Ivan Toney, they've seem to be not missing him at the moment. They're currently 4 games, 2 wins and 2 defeats. But even in the defeats they played against Man City, very close game, and they could have easily got more out of that game as well. They played really well, and they've started the season really strongly. Brentford, you've got to give them a lot of credit. Thomas Frank always seems to find a way of pulling out performances despite any situation at the moment at Brentford, and he's a very impressive manager. And the way they play, the way they set up their team, is pretty much the kind of, if you were to kind of build a team to kind of take on Tottenham, you'd pretty much set it up probably like Brentford, a team very strong at set pieces, really good on the counter attack, and very organised player back 5, strong aerial defenders. Players like Mbeumo who can be devastating on the counter-attack. So I can see it being a big struggle tomorrow, considering how we've struggled so far this season against low blocks, teams who are very organised defensively, and teams who do like to stretch us on the counter-attack. Obviously, Wissa's going to be a big miss for them, but I do see it being a very, very tough game for us tomorrow. And if we can start quickly, unsettle them from the first minute, and maybe get a bit of joy from a bit of our early pressing and get an early goal or something like that, maybe it can make it a bit easier for us. But the longer this game goes on and we're struggling to break Brentford down, and if they're catching us on the counter, it could be a difficult day for us tomorrow. I do envisage a really, really difficult game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But, in the build-up to the season, we were doing our predictions and stuff. You thought, Brentford would be on a relegation battle. They would have a relegation battle on their hands this year. Do you still feel that way?
Well, they've started very well. Can't take that away from them. Looking at the teams now at the moment down the bottom, yeah, I mean, maybe I was underestimated Thomas Frank, but it's a long season. You can't really make judgments after 4 games, and with Wissa now injured, and obviously over Ivan Toney gone, we'll have to wait and see how they cope with those 2 missing. Is Mbeumo going to be able to carry them? Is Sade going to be able to fill in for them? And if he is, then they'll be okay. They're obviously a very well-organised team. I just question whether they'll have enough goals. At the moment, they seem to be okay. We'll see over the long term. At the moment, it doesn't look like they're going to be in a relegation battle, to be honest, no.
If you're looking at the form of the 2 teams coming into it, Brentford in the Premier League have won 2, lost 2, albeit that those 2 losses have come against 2 of the better sides in the league, in Man City and Liverpool. Everyone knows Spurs' form coming into this, and I still stand by the fact that, and I think Ange even alluded to it in his press conference, that do you think people are overreacting with the results so far? I think Coventry game aside, and just focus on the Premier League here with my point, that people are overreacting with the results so far because, like I keep saying, and like many people keep saying, we actually have played well, we just haven't put those chances away.
I think in this season in isolation, I don't think there's any real reason to go over the top and panic, because we have played well. We've been unlucky in a few games that we should have won. People say we were lucky on Wednesday, which we were lucky, but on the flip side, we got lucky on Wednesday, but we've been unlucky in other games where we've maybe not won. So I think people need to maybe look at the picture of this season and not go overboard in terms of how bad the results have been. And it's only 4 games. There's a lot of football to be played, and there's more than enough time to turn it around. But if you're taking into account how we ended last season, and then you take that into consideration of, at the end of last season, whatever you want to say, we did have pretty much our full strength team available. Maybe you could argue how good their fitness was, but we did have them available, and we were shambolic at the back end of last season. And now this season has started, and we, as much as we've been unlucky, we haven't been getting the results. And when you take into account probably the last 15 Premier League games Ange has been in charge in, the results have been nowhere near good enough, and that is a fact. And from that point of view, I think the criticism of some of the kind of results over a fairly substantial period is valid, but I think in this season in isolation, if you just, forget last season and you start the season from fresh eyes and you say, I'm only going to judge what's happening this season, I don't think there's any reason to go overboard or to panic and to be calling for sacking or saying, he's under big trouble, because I do think we're playing well, and I think the evidence would suggest the results are going to turn, in my opinion. But I think people are using last season as a with a stick to beat Ange with in terms of the overall results, and I think he's got to cop that, because at the end of the day that we did end the season really badly, and that negative feeling was always going to seep into the season if we did start the season slowly, and in results wise we have.
Yeah, and look, I take that point 100%, and there's definitely validity to it. The form in terms of results have been nowhere near good enough, and from the last 6 months, or maybe the last 3 or 4 months of last season, barring that Aston Villa game, the performances weren't good enough. But if you look at these first 4 games of the season, I don't think you can say performances haven't been good enough, because I think they have. We just haven't got the results on the board. So if you're comparing performances in this small sample size to early on this season to the back end of last season, there is a clear difference. Yeah,
we're playing better than we were. The fact of the matter is we still only have one win which was Everton. We drew with a lesser side that we should be beating. We had a terrible performance away at Coventry, which was a horrific performance, and we got away with one with a last-minute goal. Obviously, Newcastle, I think at St James's Park, always a difficult place to go. We probably should have won that game, but we ended up losing through similar deficiencies we've had on the counter-attack. And Arsenal was probably the poorest display out of all of them, I'd probably say, apart from Coventry.
Against the best opposition.
But they're brilliant opposition. As we've seen, they've only conceded 1 goal the whole season, so it's not exactly a disgrace to struggle against them, albeit they are our rivals, and a home game in the North London derby, you want to really be, taking the game to them and putting them under pressure, and we did struggle to do that, which is a massive shame. And emotionally, it's an emotional game. People are going to hold that against him because of it's an important game and for bragging rights and all that different kind of stuff. I'm not too concerned at the moment with how we're playing, apart from obviously the Coventry game, which is our last game. But I think in terms of the way we're playing, I'm still confident that we're on the right path and we will get wins and things will turn. I just worry that it might not happen this weekend. I think I'm still backing us to win, but I am worried that Brentford are the kind of team that we will struggle against, and it could be another difficult watch on Saturday.
Regardless, I mean, you said you're backing us to get the win. We need to just get the win by hook or by crook this weekend. Like the performances haven't deserved the results that we've got, and if we can just get 3 points this weekend, whether it be a hard game, whatever, even if it is a hard game and they have the tools to really combat the way we play, it'll be even more impressive if we can get the result this weekend. And Brentford at home, as much as you say probably where they finished in the league last season to where we finished and what our ambitions are to what their ambitions are, it'll be easy to say it's an easy game, but it's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. And that shows as well by the head-to-head between the two clubs. I mean, we don't have a good record against them by any stretch of the imagination. They get if you bring up the past 5 head-to-head, we've only won 1 game against them in the Premier League in the past 5. Obviously, that was last time out. We did win the 3-2 in a really hard-fought victory for Spurs and in the back end of January. But look at that, 3 draws and 1 loss in our last 5 games against them. And I think in their first year in the Premier League, we did do the double over them. But that was the last time we beat them up until the last time we played them.
And the last time we played them was a very difficult game, if you remember. First half, we were 1-0 down and really struggling to break them down. And it was I think, obviously, that was a famous game that Morpie had a bit of shithousery and did the dart celebration when they took the lead.
We just blew them away, didn't we, beginning of the second half?
I think we scored a goal. We scored, I think, 3 goals in a matter of 10 minutes or something like that, and we just completely blitzed them. And then they got back in the game even after that. Tony scored, and they could have they put us under pressure, I remember, late in the game. So even last time that we won, it was a very, very difficult game. They make you battle for every ball, every point. They will not make it easy for us. And it's just the way we're playing. The last team I'd probably want to be playing right now is a team like Brentford. You want a team that's actually going to show. Look, I'm not saying they don't show ambition. They will attack us and they'll go for it. They'll try and win the game. I don't think they're going to come for a draw, but just the way they are set up, they set up to frustrate, and they make it very difficult to break through. They're a very organised defensive team, very aggressive and strong team as well physically. Very difficult to deal with, and set pieces really difficult to deal with as well. They make things very difficult for you. So a team like Brentford is just one of the last teams I'd probably want to be playing right now in terms of what we're struggling to combat against right now. You probably don't want to be facing a team like Brentford, but doesn't mean we're still not favourites. Doesn't mean we still don't have enough to win the game. Of course we do, and on our day we can blow them away for sure if we play the football that we know we can play. But it's just I know that we're a team at the moment probably struggling a little bit with confidence. I think overall in the team we're struggling to find those real good quality chances when teams are clogging up the penalty area, and that's exactly what Brentford are tailor-made to do. That's their bread and butter. So there are reasons to be worried that we'll struggle to win on the weekend, but we'll just have to back ourselves that we have enough quality, and hopefully, more minutes in Solanke's legs. Hopefully, he can make a big difference. I think he's going to be really important tomorrow to try and win the game. And I just think making sure if we can keep Mbeumo quiet, hopefully, that can go a long way to making sure we win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wissa being out in this game, I think, is a major positive for us because he's been dynamite this season. Him and Mbeumo, them as a pair, have been brilliant. But I think if you take out one of them over the two, you half that kind of threat that Brentford do have, particularly on the counter attack when we flood players forward and there's going to be gaps for them. So it's kind of one less thing to worry about, isn't it?
Definitely, and he's a massive threat in the transition. He's such a he's got really good pacing behind. He's a good physical player. Now with him not playing, they'll probably play, I'm guessing, Sade, who's obviously a good young player, but he's obviously off the back of a big injury, and we'll have to wait. We don't know.
He's been fairly good this season.
Yeah, he's looked good, but is he back to his better? We'll have to wait and see. Over the long term, if he's going to be making the same impact as someone like Wissa can make, and also that dual threat on the transition. I think Brentford hurt a lot of teams with that dual threat, with that pace, and they are very direct to goal as well. Mbeumo and Wissa, they go for you, and once they get near the penalty area, they really go for goal all the time. They don't waste time, being tippy tappy or anything. So, I think Wissa missing is definitely a massive positive for us. It's one less transitional threat to think about going into this game. But if Sade is playing like he has been this season, or how we started last season, they could still be just as much of a threat.
Yeah, and look, Mbeumo, he just seems to be getting better and better every year, doesn't he? We were talking in the build up to this season. You said Brentford could struggle for goals and go down, but Mbeumo's just picked up the pieces, hasn't he? And I just feel like he's destined for a top club at one stage in his career. Maybe it will be his last season with Brentford. Maybe they'll get one more season out of him. But sooner rather than later, I do believe that he's going to be at one of the top clubs in England. Yeah,
I'm surprised that hasn't been more interest. I think a team like Liverpool, he'd be kind of perfect for. I think he'd be really effective in their kind of system. I think for us, the way we play our wingers, I don't know if Mbeumo would be perfect for that. I actually think if we had Conte, with a two up top kind of thing, or in a front three under Conte, he'd be really effective in that kind of system where there's a lot of space and people work for their transitions. I think he's a top player. I think he's really improved his finishing. I think when he first came to the Premier League, he was all these players who gave you a tough time, but he never he was one of those players where when he got into the final third, you weren't ever convinced he was ever going to pull off a goal. This was quite frustrating in front of goal. He hit the post a lot, I remember, but he's really refined his finishing, and now when he gets in those positions, he's clinical and deadly. On his once you allow him on his left foot, he's finding the corners now, and I think he's really developed his game. He's obviously got 3 goals in 4 games so far. Got a double against Southampton. You see the goals he scored, just clinical on his left foot. What only needs a sighting, and bam, it's in the bottom corner. So I think he's really developed his game, and I'm a big fan of his, and I think sooner rather than later he will be getting him. If who actually, I'm just thinking about it now, who would be absolutely perfect for is Aston Villa. He'd be absolutely tailor-made to play up front with Watkins in the front two. I think that would be a genius move if they get him, but he'll
cost a fair bit. That's for sure.
A lot of money now, considering how well he's doing. But I'm a big fan of Mbeumo, and I'm just surprised that given how he's played. I guess he doesn't have the best injury record, so maybe that's what people are thinking about, but I think just the way he's played and how good he is when he's available, I'm surprised that no one's seriously looked at him.
You talk about the confidence factor coming into this game, right? Do you not feel like with the players coming on in the back end of that Coventry game, and I know it's only Coventry, but whenever you have a last-minute win, that does build confidence. And with Brennan Johnson obviously lacking in confidence, he's going to definitely play this game with Odegaard being out injured. Do you think that can do wonders for his confidence, scoring that last-minute winner? We saw what it was like after the game. Didn't look like he was brimming with confidence. However, scoring a last-minute winner and then having the rest of the week on the training ground with the lads under Ange, surely that's got to do good things for his confidence.
Well, I don't think it would have hurt, that's for sure. But just because he's coming in with more confidence, does that mean that he's going to be in a position to affect the game as we would want him? I'm not convinced at the moment, just considering how Brentford play. I remember he came off the bench. If I remember rightly, last year we were really struggling, and then he came on at half time and kind of really helped change the game. And if I remember rightly, actually Timo Werner had a really big say in that game as well. He got an assist for Brennan Johnson, but that was I remember really good in the transitions. If Brentford deny us transitions and they're sitting in that low block, how effective is Brennan going to be? As much confidence as he can have, he's going to have to get to the byline, get those balls across the face of goal, and be finding players in the box. And with the way Brentford defend, that's going to be a very difficult job for him. And I see if Brentford play the kind of formation they played, I was doing some research on them, and against Man City last time out, they played a 5-3-2 formation. Three strong central midfielders, wing backs as well, with two up top. And that kind of formation, I think we definitely can struggle against, because if they play two strikers, the way we set up is a lot of the time when we're in possession, when we build up with two centre backs. And if we lose the ball and give a transition, all of a sudden that's 2-on-2 right at the back. And talking about Brennan Johnson specifically, he's going to be up against potentially a wing back and then a right centre back or a left centre back as well, covering that kind of space. Is he going to be able to find that space to get to the byline and get those pullbacks? It's going to be very difficult for him. I think where the joy we might be able to get is hopefully a bit more centrally. As much as they're going to definitely clog up the central areas, it's going to be on Decky in those little pockets of space to making the most of it and finding that bit of magic. And same with James Maddison, because definitely Brentford, the way they're going to set up, I reckon it's going to be very difficult to find space in and around the penalty box. So it's going to depend on our quality to make sure that we're picking the lock. And at the moment, we haven't found that. And it's going to be as well, a lot of it's going to be on Dom Solanke, making sure that when he gets the ball, he makes it stick and brings other players into play, because they're going to have three strong centre-backs who are all good in the air playing there. So getting those headers from crosses is going to be very difficult for him. So he's going to have to up his game with the ball at his feet, I reckon.
I mean, you say we haven't found that, and I agree with you to a certain extent, maybe against Arsenal and Coventry. But I do feel like in the other games that we've played this season, Leicester, obviously Everton, and Newcastle, we have found those moments, so we just haven't put those moments away. And it's on us to find that clinical edge, to find that killer instinct. And with Dom Solanke, 3 games now, or two games now, 2.5, 2 and a bit games now, and he hasn't found the back of the net. He's surely got to be chomping at the bit. He has to score this weekend. We can't let this fester any longer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put pressure on. I mean, saying that is putting pressure on him to score. But
he is under pressure. He's our number 9. He's come in.
He's not under pressure to score. He's under pressure to contribute. That's what I'm saying. If he gets 2 assists and doesn't score, I don't really care.
The whole team is under pressure right now.
Of course. But saying he has to score is like saying, it doesn't matter how well he plays, if he doesn't score, then we're going to keep piling on pressure on him to score, and that's going to build a narrative about, how well is he actually doing. For me, it's not about him scoring, it's about him making the difference in that front line in terms of his hold-up play. Obviously, I want him to be more dangerous in and around the penalty area, but I'm not sitting here saying he has to score this weekend. I think it's more about him contributing to our overall play and making the difference and just being effective in his position. And that's not necessarily just scoring, it's more just contributing to the team. Obviously, if he gets that first goal, that's brilliant, but I'm not saying he has to score this weekend, otherwise we're calling him a flop already or anything. Obviously I want him to score, but I'm not putting that pressure on him just yet.
It's not that if he doesn't score he becomes a flop, but what I say, if he doesn't score and it keeps going on and he doesn't score, then the narrative will start to form, and I feel like it will weigh on his shoulders a little bit. And I feel like the quicker he scores, the more relaxed he can be on that football pitch. Because you've seen when he's got into those goal-scoring opportunities so far, he doesn't seem like a player relaxed. He seems like a player that's just desperate to score and maybe just trying that bit too hard, where he just needs to let it come to him a bit more natural.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying he has to score is going to only bolster that narrative. So that's why I'm not putting that pressure on him. I think he's, from what I've seen from Solanke, apart from the Coventry game, I really like what I've seen from Solanke, and I think he's really going to make a big difference to our front line, especially once he gets time to build those relationships with his teammates and they understand what runs he makes and he understands what runs he has to make in this system as well. I think his hold-up play has been really, really strong, and I think he's shown what he can bring to this team as a focal point, as a striker. I think also, you look at what Haaland did against Brentford, and, you know, when they were struggling, Man City, to break Brentford down, and that's a team like Man City, as good as they are, they had their struggles. What they did was they just went direct to Haaland, and he made a big difference. So I think that's something we have to look at in this game. If we are struggling to build our way through, and if Brentford are pressing us with, you know, they're a very strong team, very aggressive team, we have to be able to go direct to Solanke and get him to hold the ball up. If he can hold the ball up, if we go direct, you saw what Haaland can do. He could even turn, and he went one-on-one directly from the keeper because of how aggressive they were. And this is what I really like about Brentford. As much as they know how to defend, also they can press you really high up, and they can be really effective because they're a very strong team and they're very well organised. And you see in that moment when Man City scored that goal, that was because actually Brentford were being really aggressive and actually being really high. They had a really high line, and that's why they left Pinnock and Haaland one-on-one in that situation, because of how aggressive they were being. I can actually see them doing that against us. So Solanke's going to have to win his one-on-one duels and have to make sure he's making the ball stick. And if he can do that, it doesn't matter if he scores. If he's, you know, bring other players into play in those situations, that's going to really pay dividends, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting matchup in terms of...
Well, he actually spoke about Solanke directly, Ange. He said he was asked about his Solanke awaiting his first goal to justify his fee. He said, I don't know because people are just so quick to judge. It's a judge, mate. It's simple. It's a small sample. The guy's played less than 2 games for us. He's gone 50. If he had gone 15 games without a goal, then I can answer your question. Or if he had gone 15 games where he hasn't contributed. But I just think, let's take a breath, do a bit of yoga, and think about the world for a second, and make an assessment after that. We don't have to rush to make judgments all the time, because the alternative is, hey, he may got off to a great start, he is fit and scoring in all 4 games and he's flying, and then he goes through a patch like all strikers where he doesn't score. I just don't look at those things. What I look at is he has come in, fitted really well, and quite logically has picked up an injury, and that has disrupted the way he wanted to start his career, but he's still got plenty of time for that.
Yeah, which is absolutely correct, and Ange is always there to calm us down. But
do some yoga on the
I think we're going to have to, after everything that we've been through since the start of the season. I mean, it feels like this season's been going on for a long time already, but we are still at the start. But look, I agree with the sentiment Ange is trying to make, but I just feel like maybe it is that we've been here and we've seen it all before with these strikers coming through the door at Tottenham, that, you know, they have a big reputation about them. They've scored plenty of goals in the previous teams that they've been in, and they come here and they don't score for the first game, don't score for the second game, don't score for the third game, and that's and you see it right in front of your eyes, where it starts to weigh on them so much. And I just hope that doesn't happen with Dom.
Soldado scored 2 in his first 2.
2 penalties, yeah.
Still scored.
It's true.
You know, got the monkey off his back very early. Didn't really help him. Look, I understand what I'm saying. I'm more looking at how is he contributing to the team, not necessarily how many goals has he scored in his first 4. Obviously, when you've got players like Haaland who come to City and within his first game he's got a brace and, you know, he hits the ground running. When you're comparing him to that, obviously we want our striker to have a similar impact. But not everyone can be Erling Haaland, and that's a very high bar to be, you know, to set him against. And I'm just looking at how he's fitted in, how he's contributing, and what I can really see he's going to bring to the team. And at the moment, I'm liking what I see at the moment. I'm not seeing his lack of goal scoring. I'm worrying. I'm looking at how he's contributing to the team, and I think he's going to be a really effective player for us.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the reality is, so far, we've got a clear problem in front of goal, and our clinical edge and our killer instinct is not there at the moment, and he's been brought in to give us that, and he's providing for us very well in different aspects of the game, with his hold-up play, with his physicality, and you know, all those kind of assets. But we need him to be a killer in front of goal. That's what we brought him in here for.
Yeah. And it's only been 2 games. Give him a chance.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that, and I will give him a chance. I'm not saying, he's crap, he's a flop, let's chuck him out the window. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him so far, but we need to add that killer instinct, is what I'm saying.
Cree says if it was up to Sim, he'd be making Ndombele captain ahead of everyone else in the world. Thanks,
if it was up to Sim, we would have a double pivot of Ndombele and Harry Winks right now.
Yeah, they're not doing badly at the moment. I think that would kick under Ange.
In terms of the centre-back pairing, obviously it probably will be Romero and Van de Ven, but before the Coventry game, we were saying maybe Romero should be coming out the team for a game or two because of the mishaps that he has had so far this season. The majority of goals have come from his mistakes. But with Dragoshin not really performing well in the Coventry game, has that put that to the back of your mind?
I never wanted to drop him, but
you did say it.
I didn't say it.
You did.
I said at the beginning of the season we maybe should have rested him.
No, we spoke about it, and you said that I wouldn't mind dropping Romero for a game with Dragoshin there.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't remember saying that, but I don't think we should drop him. I think, yes, he's costing us goals at the moment, but I think maybe this week break would have done him good. I still think yes, he's costing us a lot, but he's still doing a lot of good stuff in games as well. And I think he's just a better defender still than Dragoshin at the moment. And Dragoshin didn't do himself any favours against Coventry, so I think Romero definitely starts in this one. A
big plus for us going into this game, and it might sound a bit funny coming from me, who's a big critic of him, is Yves Bissouma, because I don't think Bentancur gives up exactly what we need from that number 6 position. Bissouma has started the season really well after the balloon gate and all that kind of stuff. I think he's responded in the most perfect manner that he could have possibly responded. He's on good form, even getting on the score sheet for his country and for Tottenham Hotspur. So with him being back in the running for this game, surely he has to start, and surely that's a massive plus for us.
Yeah, I think he will come straight into the team. I think the way Ange answered that question as well, he was asked about Bissouma's fitness, and he said, yeah, he's trained today and he should be available for the weekend. And then Ali Gold followed up saying, does that mean he's fit to start, or is he just fit to, make a contribution? And he said, no, if I said he's available, he's available. And that kind of indicated to me, okay, he's going to come straight back into the team. Yeah, Bentancur, I don't think he's been terrible, but hasn't quite been it in the past 2 games. And I think Bissouma on the ball with his ball-carrying ability will definitely help us in a game like this. And I also think his ability to cover a bit more ground at the moment than Bentancur will help. So I think Bissouma will start, albeit I believe Bentancur, from what I can see, he's still available for the weekend. So he might think about persisting with him, but I do think he'll put Bissouma straight back in, considering his form. The only worry I have with it, slight worry, is he is he feeling a bit of effects after his injury? Is he fully 100% fit? We'll have to wait and see. But I've got a feeling that maybe he might have been recovered even by Wednesday, but they didn't want to take the risk and they saved him for this weekend. So if that's true, then it should be all right then.
Yeah, I hope so, and I want to see Bissouma start this game. I just think he adds an extra element than what Bentancur can in that number 6 position, and on top of that, he is on much better form than Bentancur. You got to say that. So look, big game. In my opinion, it's an absolutely must win this weekend against Brentford. With the games that we got coming up, we got European game on Thursday night, then we go to Old Trafford, and then another European game, I think, and then we have to go to the Amex. So 2 very difficult away games coming up after this.
Every away game's difficult. We've got a terrible away form. We've got really bad away form. So we can't even beat Leicester away. So at the moment, so every away game is going to have its challenges. It's going to be very difficult. There are no easy away games in the Premier League, that's for sure. So,
but particularly these ones.
They've all, a lot. I think they're all difficult. What were you saying? Brighton and Man United.
Brighton and Man U, yeah.
They're difficult games, but I think all of them are difficult. All of them. Then are these teams going to be finishing even in the top 7 this year? We don't know. There's such competition. We've got to be able to be going there and competing for sure.
Yeah. Score prediction?
I am going to go for 2-1 to Spurs. I think it's going to be a really tough game. It's going to be a close game. I definitely see Brentford getting some joy against us and on set pieces and counters, and they're really geared for that. I'm just hoping we've got that little bit of quality in the final third in this one where we can really open up Brentford, maybe get an early goal even, settle the nerves down, and be able to just put them to bed and win it 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1, but I think it's going to be such a difficult game. I could see us really struggling, to be honest. I wouldn't even be surprised if we drop points, to be honest.
Come on, have a bit of confidence about you. We ain't dropping points this weekend. We're going to win the game. It is going to be a hard-fought victory. I agree with you. It will be 2-1. I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, and Buemo has a great record against Tottenham. But we just have to win by hook or by crook. I just can't envisage us dropping points this weekend. It just can't happen.
Yeah, I think this
game cannot happen.
As much as I want a really strong performance and all that kind of stuff, I feel like this game is just like a game we need to just get over the line and get 3 points, because I think Brentford are just one of these teams where right now we don't want to be facing a team like Brentford. It's going to be so difficult, and I just think if we can get a win by any means necessary and just move on from it, and then we can we'll come up against other teams who might suit us, who we might suit playing against, then that'll be really beneficial. We just need to relieve a bit of the pressure, get the 3 points, and even if it's not the best performance, I think we just need to get those 3 points and move on. Yeah,
I completely agree. Just get those 3 points, move on, and then we go into Europe on Thursday night for the first time in a long time. But that is our match preview. Those are our score predictions. I want to know your score predictions in the comment section below.